gratitude. Sitsayotsa sitsta, 12 Jud Tulalip. Good morning. My indigenous name is Sitsayotsa. My name comes 7 generations back. My grandmother, she lived on the what is now the city of Everett, but it was the Hibbo village as part of our traditional area. And so we were known as people of the medicine. So we were known to use our hands for healing. We were part of the environment, and we still are today because I carry her name. So it's a great honor to be here this morning. I woke up thinking, wait a minute, Billy Frank is going to be here and you're asking me to be a keynote speaker? I asked to trade places with Billy this morning, but I believe that as some of our elders who are here today, they teach the young people these words, and I've heard many of these discussions over a time period of who we are as Native people. And so it is very humbling to stand here before you and knowing that, as Steve Robinson said, we have the most impressive group of people here this morning. So give yourself a hand of applause. Thank you. I actually traveled in from Washington, D.C. Yesterday evening, so Steve said, just drive this way, get some rest, and you'll be ready for the morning. So I woke up just very excited to share the story that I will share with you this morning. And it's a story that that is very near and dear to my heart, and it's a story of education. And really I call it, this is my environmental education. I went to Marysville, Pilchuck, and graduated in 1989, and then attended right away the University of Washington, and continued on and learned about everything that we're supposed to learn as good students to graduate: math, science. Mainly for me was sociology and American ethnic studies. And when I graduated, I was very excited to move on to law school, but something happened along the way. And it was a day like today. In fact, it was probably within this month period where, we graduate, you pack up your belongings from college and you put it in your car. At that time, my little Honda Prelude, I stacked it to the top, and I thought, wow, I'm ready for my next adventure. And got on I-5, took a right down, heading back to Tulalip, and something inside of me said, this doesn't feel like my path. I just do not feel complete. So I continued, I drove past Tulalip, and I went to Lummi. And there I went to a dear relative, his name is Jewel James. I went to his house and I just said, I can't do this. And he said, well, what's going on? And I said, I can go on to law school and keep moving forward, and I've studied very hard, but I don't feel complete. And I don't feel like it's the right path. And I feel like all these teachers and mentors who brought me to this level were excited for me, my family, but I didn't feel it. So he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't want to go to law school. Nothing against attorneys, but I just want to be real for a minute here. I think I've worked very hard from K to 12 and then on to college, and there's something missing. And he said, well, move your stuff in. There's room in the back. So I moved in the back of the house, the little room, and put my stuff there and decided, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, don't worry about it. You'll find what you need to do. You'll have food on the table and whatever you need. And I said, well, I don't have a job right now. And he said, don't worry, I have a job. I'll take care of all of us, my family. You're part of our family. And so there began my humble beginnings at the Lummi Nation, where I signed up through Northwest Indian College for a basket weaving class. I had a teacher named Anna Jefferson. She started showing us the cedar weaving through cedar bark. So I started my first little basket, which you see the cedar baskets, and you won't understand how much work goes into cedar baskets until you actually have to strip the cedar and find the right sizes and then start weaving as perfectly as you can. And so my class began. I got a job through the Treaty Task Force in Lummi Nation. I met many tribal leaders and it inspired me along the way. And my story today is about that basket weaving class. And there was a point in time when I finished my first basket, which was very exciting for me. And my teacher then said, well, you're going to learn how, now you need to learn how to go and harvest the cedar. And so I thought, well, I can't just get it from you. It's right here in a basket. So she said, no, you need to take that next step. And I said, well, how exciting. I'm going to go put on my wilderness shoes and get ready for the day. And she says, well, we'll start in the morning. So I met her early in the morning. We went into the woods. And I think that was really, truly, honestly, the start of my education. As we walked in the woods, Anna Jefferson reached down, she picked up the roots, she did something with her teeth, and she said, look, you can do this, and if your throat is sore, you need this medicine, and if you take the branches and spin them around this way, and she just kept walking, and everything, her hands felt like they were moving so fast. Oh, right there, if you have a scratch, you put the leaf right here on your scratch, you'll be healed. And it was so much, I thought, well, wait a minute, how can I register all of it right here? And pretty soon I couldn't, because I thought, well, geez, on my reservation, I grew up running in the woods, and they were just woods to me. It was a fun place. It was beautiful. I could feel the serenity. I had all of those thoughts, but I had no idea that what was about to occur to me is what our elders teach us for many years, is that this earth is alive. And so as Anna continued through the woods, and I was just steps behind her, I stopped and I started crying. She says, are you okay? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. And then she goes, oh, you don't look well. And I sat down on a log and I started crying, and she looked again and she said, what's the matter? And I said, the only word that I could think of is I felt stupid. Stupid, that's the word that came to my mind. And she says, what do you mean? And I said, how can I be a young Native American woman and not know the medicine of the cedar trees? How can I not know that the roots can be weaved this way? And I felt cheated. I felt, I went through all this education, and yet I don't know these simple things here on the earth. And so she kind of smiled, and she says, well, you may need a little time on that log. So I sat there, and honestly, the only word I could think of is this. I felt cheated. I felt very cheated. Out of all the school I went through, how hard I worked to impress those teachers who often don't think the Native students are smart enough, and often, well, most of my friends, my cousins, put them in special ed. And so I worked hard to be that A student. I worked hard to be the best student that the teachers knew, so that I wouldn't be called basically a dumb Indian. And I'm speaking very real with you today, because this is something that was very real for me. And so as I sat there and I looked at Anna, that was my teacher. She was my teacher. And so she continued around, started gathering, and continued to show me how to take care of the earth, how to pull cedar bark from the trees, and only take what we need, and we use every piece of the cedar. And so I went back that evening, and we met with the elders who do the weaving I think on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. So I walked in the building with our buckets, and they said, you went gathering. And I said, yes. Oh my it had that glow because some of the elders said, she knows. I know, you know about this? You know about the medicine? And some of the elders said, yeah, have a seat. And so I sat there and I got to hear about the importance of our cedar tree and how when you're hurting and you need that strength, you can put your back against the cedar tree and you can get that strength and that healing that you need. I learned that when you have something that's heavy on you, you can use that cedar bough and you can brush yourself off. You can take it off. And then you put the cedar bough back in the water and let the earth take it away. And surely I thought, I've heard some of the stories, but it became alive. And I said, in the woods, I could see the woods breathing. It was breathing. Everything was alive. And some of the elders had tears in their eyes. And they said, we're so glad you're learning here today. And I said, I'm so glad you're here, my dear elders, to teach us. And so that day, one of the elders put her hand on me. She's no longer with us here today, but she said, you will have a boy, and your first child will be a boy, and his name will be Cedar Pelocton. And today I have a son. He's 16 years old, and his name is Cedar. And so for my experience, and for many of our experiences, we live in this life not knowing truly what education is. Because for us, and what we learn in our traditional way, our Coast Salish way, is it encompasses everything. There's not one way to learn. Each one of us has a gift. And sometimes I think even this morning, they should have a biologist speak, or there's teachers who can share this message, or people who work out in the environment. But truly, as a mother, that's my role as a teacher, not to wait for that teacher, for that biologist. We always say, who's going to teach us? We'll let that person, or this person, or the specific education institute. But really, the strength of this PEI is you. The strength of our collective knowledge in getting out to the universe and taking care of our cedar trees and our salmon. It's each and every one of us. We're the teachers. We are the new ones who are going to bring forth this knowledge. And maybe you won't have that teacher, Anna Jefferson, but someone else. And maybe you'll go into that woods and you'll find it yourself. But the key is that we find it, that we find that inner strength, that we find that medicine. And so there are many great teachers out in this world, but I encourage you to be that great teacher. And I know there's many of you already who are the great teachers here, and so I just want to thank you for stepping forward to share your knowledge. And so for me, I asked that we put some cedar on the table, just as a reminder today that this is our medicine. That the water on the table that each and every one of you have when we pray with our water, that's our medicine. And that each and every morning, if there's one thing you do, an elder taught me, is to pour that water and just to hold on to that water and to pray with that water, and it'll take care of you. And if you're having a heavy day, to take that water, it can be from your shower, it can be from, it's water. It's all flowing. How it flows through the riverbank or through your sink, that's still our medicine. And you can take that medicine and you can wipe your eyes and you can ask for that medicine to heal your eyes. You can ask that water to protect what you hear in your life, to protect your words, and to cleanse your spirit, to cleanse your body. And that's a spiritual connection. We have that. We have with the earth, with that water, with the cedar tree. That's something that you won't often learn in school. I never did learn it in school, and grew up with a little bit of a hard childhood, so some of those teachings were taken away. So at the age of 22, I finally got those teachings back. And one thing I hope and pray is for our young children that we raise them this way, that there's a spiritual connection that we have to all things, and that we can find that medicine if we take our children out to the woods, if we experience it ourselves, but we also take the time to share that with someone. And so those are just a story I wanted to share with you, a story of recovery for me. I didn't go to sit in a counseling office for many hours. It was that was my healing. That was my counselor. So I know part of our thinking comes very mental, but if we combine that mental, emotional, spiritual connection, we are going to move the earth in good ways. And I do have hope. I know we talk about destruction, but I do have hope. As my 14-year-old daughter, she spoke at it was Environmental Canada Day. She was a speaker, and she says that with people like each and every one of you who work for the environment, I have hope. And so I just want to thank you for each and every one of you for being here today, and for giving all of us hope. I want to thank the Pacific Education Institute for giving us hope. I was very honored to be part of a project, Shadow of the Salmon, and that was a story written by Steve Robinson. Steve, raise your hand. He's an amazing, amazing man with a great talent for writing and telling our story. And so with that curriculum, we were able to get it out to middle schools across the state, and as I was telling Steve, across the country, because I played the role of Aunt Fran in the movie, in the show, and I don't know who's all seen the movie here. Shadow of the Salmon. I was Aunt Fran. So it was pretty exciting to share our story about our waters and our riverways and damage to water and protection of our salmon. And Billy Frank was in the movie, and anyone else here was in the movie? Is that okay? So we have two good actors in the in the audience. So it's just thank you again. Thank you for what each and every one of you do in your life, and I just hope and pray that we continue to educate and to use the medicine that we have in a good way, and that we only take what we need. And I know I have notes here, but I think as our elders have taught us, we speak from our heart. We can share our own stories and hopefully inspire others to share their story, and in some way we'll find that connection. So again, just raising my hands up to each and every one of you, saying Utikwitsichol, thanking you for this day, and I just hope and pray we continue to support programs like this, and that we give that true education to our young people. Thank you.